Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Prime Minister Sifir is representing the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, in the proceedings of the G20 summit held in Johannesburg, South Africa. The European Union has announced its intention to provide approximately 88 million euros in aid to Palestine as a donor conference held in the Belgian capital, Brussels. A United States federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from deploying the National Guard to Washington, D.C. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm your host, Mariam Barshi. The working visit of inspections carried out by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, in the province of Constantine in eastern Algeria was marked by the launch of an inauguration of vital and strategic projects capable of speeding up the path of development. The President of the Republic greeted the thousands of citizens who flocked to the city centre of Constantine to give him a warm welcome, expressing their gratitude for the important projects that have benefited their province in various fields. Said Boughazi has the details.
The President of the Republic began his visit by laying the foundation stone for a new university hospital center with a capacity of 500 beds, which will cover a total area of 20 hectares and includes 24 hospital departments covering several medical specialties, as well as a teaching pavilion with a capacity of 1,000 places. After listening to explanations about the project, the President of the Republic emphasized the need to move towards the creation of health centers offering cutting-edge medical services with a view to strengthening the national health system. The President of the Republic then laid the foundation stone for the construction of a sports complex comprising a 30,000-seat football stadium and 2 training grounds, as well as accommodation facilities with a capacity of 60 rooms integrated into the stadium, in addition to an Olympic swimming pool. The project also includes a 2,000-seat multi-purpose sports hall, 3 tennis courts, a car park with a capacity of 3,500 vehicles, and an energy center. The President of the Republic also inaugurated a new drug production complex specializing in sprays for respiratory diseases, medicines, soft capsules, and anti-cancer drugs. The complex covers an area of 27,000 square meters and provides more than 500 jobs. At the Sisawi urban hub, the President of the Republic laid the foundation stone for the project to build the 8,050 rental purchase housing units AADL3 program and 6,800 LPL units for the municipality of Constantine. The President of the Republic also watched a report on the modernization plan for the old town of Constantine and the development projects currently underway, as well as a presentation on the local housing sector and the related digitization process. He also inaugurated the road linking the RN3 to the east-west motorway. Before beginning his working visit of inspection, President Tebboune paid tribute to the memory of the scholar Abdelhamid bin Badis and met with his grandchildren. At the end of his visit, the President of the Republic met with the civil society actors from Constantine and listened to their concerns and proposals regarding support for the state's efforts to promote development in the province.
Representing the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Prime Minister Sifir has arrived in Johannesburg, South Africa, to take part in the proceedings of the G20 summit, which is scheduled from the 22 to the 23rd of the current month. In Johannesburg, South Africa is preparing to host a historic G20 summit, the first ever on African soil, with preparations complete and international delegations already arriving. The event is drawing global attention. Algeria will also be participating in a context marked by growing ties with South Africa. Our special correspondent Samar Hamadi reports from Johannesburg.
South Africa is hosting the summit of world leaders for the first time in its history, a moment widely described as historic for the continent. Authorities say preparations are complete. Tiniko Maluliki, Deputy Chair of the National Planning Commission, confirms that security protocols are in place, venues secured, and global leaders have already begun to arrive. Of the 133 meetings scheduled under South Africa's presidency, 130 have already been held, including ministerial sessions, Sherpa gatherings, and the social summit recently opened by Vice President Paul Mashatile. Algeria, attending as guest of honor, intends to use the platform to reform its regional rule and its long-standing strategic partnership with South Africa. This edition is also marked by a notable absence, the United States. Even so, 42 countries have confirmed their participation: G20 members, invited states, and regional blocs from Africa, the Caribbean, and East Asia. Security remains the top priority. A strict lockdown will be enforced around Nasrec and FNB Stadium from 21st to 24th November, with access limited to accredited personnel, and several major roads closed across Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni. On the streets of Johannesburg, reactions are mixed. Some see the G20 as a real opportunity to strengthen partnerships and international cooperation.
My expectation is that South Africa and Africa and other members of the world should work hand in glove in terms of formulating solutions in terms of how they solve the world problem. In South Africa, for example, we are faced with challenges ranging from corporate governance. We want to learn how others have dealt with it. We know countries like Singapore have dealt with issues of corruption. Learning from those who have walked the path, I think it will enable us to move forward in a uniformed way, and also taking into account what others have walked through. So my takeaway, my expectation from this session is that partnership with the world players, and learn from them, and take the country and the world and make it a better place than we find it in terms of sustainability.
Others believe it's a chance for foreign visitors to better understand South Africa and promote greater solidarity among nations.
With all these summits that are happening, what I'm expecting to see a change in our country, most especially when it comes to employment, when health-wise, when it comes to education, and a lot of opportunities for people to come and enjoy our country, for them to be satisfied when they come here. And I feel like it's going to bring a change after the summit, and it will definitely make African or all the countries that are in the G20 to have unity.
Thank you so much. Some residents hope for more concrete outcomes, especially opportunities for young people in jobs and training.
As a South African, I was hoping for a change a bit. All I can say is that we have a lot of degrees around, but then no jobs. So that was hoping for G20. Maybe it was going to develop some jobs for the youth, you know, and then to clean our country. Yeah, as you can see, this is Johannesburg City. Street vendors and whatsoever, we need this place clean. Yes,
you are positive?
Yes.
Great. But others point out that despite the importance of the platform, the G20 won't necessarily give a voice to everyone, especially youth and local communities.
Good day, everyone. I am a South African, and we are hosting a G20 very soon from Monday here in our country. Everyone is excited, but not all of us. The people who are coming here have been talking, but the people who are affected, the poor, have no voice. So we see the G20 as a platform for the ones who are in charge to say whatever they want. But we, the ones on the ground, we still have no voice. And we are sure that G20 is not coming here to voice out for the people on the ground.
As the summit approaches, South Africa's G20 presidency is drawing to a close. It will be officially wrapped up on 13 November before being handed over to the United States in 2026. For Algeria, the guest of honor, the summit is also a moment to strengthen its diplomatic visibility and international engagement. Samar Hamadi, Johannesburg, Algerian Radio.
We now go live to our special correspondent, Samar Hamadi. Samar, thank you for joining us here in Johannesburg on the eve of the G20 summit, a major global event. The arrival of Prime Minister Sivirib has already attracted significant attention. Tell us, Samar, what's the atmosphere like on the ground as the city prepares for this historic summit?
Yes, Mariam, we're here in Johannesburg and the atmosphere is very special on the eve of the G20 summit. We spent the morning walking the streets and talking with several South Africans. They're proud to host a summit of this scale. But above all, they're hoping for tangible results, more investment, support for African economies and real attention to the continent's priorities. The arrival of Prime Minister Sivirib, representing President Abdelmajid Tebboune, drew a lot of attention, especially since Algeria is this year's guest of honor. This year's summit focuses on inclusive growth and global governance reform with key issues like the economy, energy and Africa's role in international decision-making. These are exactly, Miriam, the points South Africans hope will come out of this or of the discussions. Security measures are tight, but the atmosphere remains calm and organized, and everything is ready for the start of the work tomorrow. We'll be back with more details in the coming hours. Back to you in the studio, Mariam. Thank you.
Thank you, Samar, for joining us from Johannesburg. The third and last day of the visit to Algeria by the Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Pham Minh Chinh, was marked by meetings with senior state officials and members of the government, during which ways of strengthening cooperation between the two countries were discussed. The details with Said Bougazi.
The Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Azouz Nasri, received the Vietnamese Prime Minister on Thursday, who paid him a courtesy visit, reflecting the renewed momentum of cooperation marking Algerian-Vietnamese relations. Azouz Nasri welcomed the great political convergence that characterizes the positions of the two countries within regional and international organizations. He also indicated that Algeria, under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, attaches particular importance to developing relations with Vietnam and strengthening the strategic partnership through support for ongoing political dialogue and expanding areas of cooperation. For his part, the Vietnamese Prime Minister emphasized the strategic importance that Vietnam attaches to developing its cooperation with Algeria in various fields, welcoming the convergence of the two countries' positions on international issues. The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, APN Brahim Bourali, also received the Vietnamese Prime Minister yesterday, with whom he discussed ways of strengthening bilateral cooperation in various areas. On the last day of his visit to Algeria, the Vietnamese Prime Minister also received the Minister of State, Minister of Hydrocarbons and Mines, Mohamed Arkab. On this occasion, both parties emphasized their commitment to promoting bilateral cooperation and intensifying technical meetings between experts from both countries to bring joint projects to fruition. The Vietnamese Prime Minister also received the Secretary General of the National Liberation Front Party, FLN, Abdelkarim bin Barak. On this occasion, both parties praised the depth of the historical friendship and solidarity between the two peoples, as well as their shared history of struggle. At the end of the meeting, a cooperation agreement was signed between the FLN Party and the Vietnamese Communist Party. The Minister of War Veterans and Rights Holders, Abdelmalik Teshrift, was also received by the Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam as part of his official visit to Algeria. A commemorative stele dedicated to Vietnamese leader Ho Chi Minh was inaugurated in the municipality of Rais Hamidou in Algiers in the presence of the Vietnamese Prime Minister, who was accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Trade and Export Promotion Kemal Rizig and local authorities.
The Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of African Affairs, Salma Mansouri, has shared via video conference the proceedings of the 11th session of the Committee of Focal Points of the African Peer Review Mechanism, IPRM, as part of Algeria's presidency of the Forum of Heads of State and Government of the IPRM. Speaking on the occasion, the Secretary of State reaffirmed Algeria's commitment under the leadership of the President of the Republic, current chair of the Forum of Heads of States and Government of the APRM, to support the reform process of the Secretariat of the Continental Mechanism as an essential step towards strengthening its effectiveness and its role in promoting good governance in Africa. The Ministry of Industry, Yahya Bashir, has received the Secretary of State at the Ministry of Economy, Regional Development and Energy to the German land of Bavaria, Tobias Gothard, and his accompanying delegation, during which the two parties examined ways of strengthening bilateral cooperation in the industrial sector through the development of joint investment projects. During the meeting, the two sides discussed the state and prospects of bilateral relations in the industrial sector, notably in the manufacture of equipment and the mechanical and chemical industries, in addition to assessing the progress of the strategic industrial partnership. Moving to the situation in the Middle East, the European Union has announced its intention to provide approximately 88 million euros in aid to Palestine at a donor conference held in the Belgian capital, Brussels. The European Commissioner for Mediterranean Affairs, Dubravka Šuica, told reporters after the donor conference that the EU had signed up for more than 82 million euros in addition to the 6 million euros already announced. Nearly 60 delegations gathered in Brussels, 27 EU member states, Arab countries, and numerous international organizations. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa, who was present at the meeting, said that Palestine had presented the progress made under its national reform program, which was currently being implemented. He stressed that this program was not just a promise, but was actually being implemented and was even ahead of schedule, which Palestine's partners had acknowledged. He added that this progress was being made despite an unfavorable environment, accusing the Zionist entity of seeking to weaken the Palestinian Authority and its ability to function. Šuica, who confirmed this point, recalled that EU's calls on the Zionist entity to release tax revenues owed to the Palestinian Authority, which are essential to its functioning. She stressed that all participants at the conference expressed this position. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, for her part, insisted in a message on social media that the EU was a strong supporter of the two-state solution, as well as the largest donor of aid to the Palestinian people. Von der Leyen also reaffirmed the EU's commitment to working towards the establishment of a Palestinian state and to continue to support all efforts to stabilize the region. The General Secretariat of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, has held the adoption by the United Nations General Assembly of a set of resolutions supporting the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people. In a press release issued, the OIC stated that this broad international consensus testifies to the centrality of the Palestinian cause and rejects the colonial occupation policies of the Zionist entity, notably annexation, settlement construction, forced displacement, ethnic cleansing, and all other crimes and violations committed by the Zionist entity. The OIC highlighted in this respect the massive adoption of the resolution renewing the mandate of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, which reaffirms the issue of Palestinian refugees and their right to return and compensation. In this connection, the OIC stressed the need to maintain the mandate of UNRWA and to provide it with all necessary financial, political and legal support, because it embodies the commitment and responsibility of the international community towards Palestinian refugees and the protection of their rights. 2 Palestinian teenagers were killed this morning after being seriously wounded by shooting from Zionist occupation forces in the city town of Kafr al-Akab, north of the occupied holy city of Al-Quds. And the non-governmental organization Human Rights Watch, HRW, has stated that the dismantling by the Zionist entity of refugee camps in the occupied West Bank and the deportation of their residents constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity. Said Bourazi tells us more in this report.
In a report published yesterday, Human Rights Watch explained that the forced transfers of Palestinians by the Zionist entity are part of a policy of ethnic cleansing, an illegal term referring to the forced evacuation from an area of one ethnic or religious group by another, stressing the imperative for the international community to sanction those responsible within the Zionist entity involved in these practices. The NGO announced that it had referred the matter to the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court (ICC). It noted that the escalation of violations by the Zionist entity in the occupied West Bank underscores the urgency for governments to act despite the fragility of the truce in Gaza to prevent the occupying authorities from intensifying their repression against Palestinians. As a reminder, the UN stated in a report that the forced transfers of Palestinians by the Zionist entity and the latter's construction of new settlements in occupied Palestine may constitute war crimes and, in certain circumstances, crimes against humanity. Presented on Monday evening by the Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights, Elsie Brans-Caris, to the Fourth Committee of the UN General Assembly, which deals with special political and decolonization issues, the UN report stressed the need to address the root cause of these cycles of violence and oppression, the denial of Palestinians' human rights, including the right to self-determination. To remedy this, the Zionist entity must end its illegal occupation of Palestinian territory, she said.
Members of the European Parliament's Agriculture Committee rejected the new agreement between Morocco and the European Union on products from Moroccan-occupied Sahrawi territories, calling it shameful. This came during the committee's session to discuss the agreement reached in early October between the two parties, focusing in particular on the European Commission's proposed amendment to the regulation on marketing standards, specifically the issue of country of origin labelling for products imported from outside the EU into the European market, including products from occupied Western Sahara. The agreement is an attempt to circumvent the rulings handed down on October 4, 2024 by the Court of Justice of the EU, which annulled the agreements concluded between Rabat and the EU on the grounds that Morocco and Western Sahara are two distinct and separate territories, and that these agreements were signed without the consent of the Sahrawi people through their sole legitimate representative, the Polisario Front. Members of the Committee on Agriculture across the political spectrum accused the European Commission of giving into Morocco and attempting to change the Court of Justice of the EU's decision in order to maintain the trade agreement with Rabat that the court had invalidated. The majority of members of the committee also accused the European Commission of betraying consumers, undermining international law, and acting as a commercial office for Morocco to the detriment of European farmers. And a United States federal judge has said that President Trump or the Trump administration must oppose its deployment of National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. U.S. District Judge Jaya Cobb temporarily suspended the deployment in a ruling responding to a lawsuit filed by city officials accusing the federal executive of overstepping its powers. The federal government has unique powers in Washington, D.C., but the Trump administration has taken the controversial step of deploying soldiers. 2,175 National Guard troops are currently deployed in Washington, including 1,245 sent from other states, according to the latest military statistics. The judge ruled in favor of the municipality, considering that the federal government had acted contrary to the law by deploying the Washington National Guard from crime deterrence missions without a request from the city's civil authorities. She also concluded that the law does not authorize it to request the deployment of National Guard personnel from other parts of the country to Washington. The municipality of Washington, which has a unique status, is not attached to any U.S. state and has limited autonomy as Congress has jurisdiction over its affairs. In October, the courts blocked similar deployments in Chicago North and Portland West until further notice. That's it for today's news bulletin. Stay tuned to Radio Algeria International.
Located in the historical city of Constantine in the eastern part of Algeria, the National Tshirta Constantine Museum offers visitors a fascinating window into the region's past, particularly during the time of Roman occupation. Consisting of a ground floor exhibition hall, an upper floor, and a beautifully maintained garden, the museum features three main categories: ethnographic, fine arts, and archaeological, the latter encompassing 12 rooms giving a comprehensive chronological overview of the region from prehistory through to today. The museum was founded in 1852 by a group of scholars who had formed the Archaeological Association of Constantine with the objective of preserving monuments and artifacts, many of which were inscribed detailing the history of the city and its surroundings. Initially, the museum was housed in a caravanserai, but these premises were not big enough to contain the growing collection, and it was proposed to construct a building specifically to house the museum's artistic and historical treasures. The site chosen for the museum already had archaeological significance as a Numidian Punic necropolis. The completed museum was opened on April 15, 1931, under the name of Musée Gustave Mercier, in honor of the Secretary General of the Archaeological Association. The name of the museum changed to Tshirta Museum in July 1875, and in 1986 was listed as one of Algeria's national museums. Covering an area of more than 2,100 square meters, with an additional 900 square meters of gardens, the museum has become home to an extensive collection of fascinating artifacts, some of which were donated and others unearthed through archaeological excavations or purchased. The Fine Arts category of the Musée Tshirta Constantine displays sculptures and paintings created by renowned artists between the 17th and 20th centuries. Artists featured at the museum include Eugène Foromentin, Gabriel Ferrier, Alalou Shamar, Bashir Bouchriha, Edine Dinette, and Khouja Sadaq Amin, to mention a few. In the ethnographic section, visitors will be able to view ancient manuscripts relating to various sciences, along with antique jewelry, carpets, weapons, copper crafts, and traditional dress. A relaxing stroll through the gardens gives visitors the opportunity to view a variety of interesting sculptures and statues, including a menhir with the figure of a Libyan soldier carved into one of its sides. The soldier has a spear in his right hand, with his left hand on his sword in its sheath.